Good morning, everyone. This is Nikachu, Merfolk Master, and we are here for what is it? Day 36 of Coffee and MTG, the live show where you give questions, I give answers, and we're going to have a great conversation today, as we do every single day. If you've got deck lists, submit them. Let's go check out your sweet list. Let's see what problems you have. How can I fix them? Make you a better deck list to become a better winning player. Let's join each other. We're all in quarantine as usual, so we have to keep each other company. Let's brew up a cup of magic and enjoy this morning together. And wherever you are, whether it's the morning, afternoon, or evening, let's go enjoy and have some great conversations about Magic the Gathering. And with that, I'm going to take a delicious sip of my coffee. It has been quite the morning for me already. What's up, Anchorian Hero? As the pessimist scientist was waiting patiently for the stream to start. I saw you, pessimist scientist. Let's see, I'm just going to change. Whenever I start this stream, the subject gets hijacked from like Magic the Gathering to a talk show. No, we're Magic. This is a Magic show. We're all Magic. I want to be found by all the Magic players. So good morning to everyone. And yeah, so like I'm anticipating, Core 2021 coming out. I'm also anticipating Jumpstart. A lot of interesting spirits have been revealed for Jumpstart, which is going to have a huge impact on historic spirits specifically. I mean, we got so between Core 2021 and Jumpstart, historic is going to have like a huge shakeup. I mean, spirits very likely is going to become a thing. They already have the lords. They have the Supreme Phantom. They have the Empyrean Eagle for their lords, and now they're getting the right tools in their toolbox to make an actual spirits deck. Rattle Chains has been revealed in, I believe it's Jumpstart, and we also had, what's it called? Nebelgast. Hope I'm spelling that right. Nope. Oh, no, is it just GHT? It is. They always get me with the GHT. It's like, it's a ghost. Isn't it Ghastly GH? Right? Whatever. So Nebelgast Herald, as far as I'm concerned, just got revealed for Jumpstart, which is going to be huge boost to the Spirits deck in Historic, which doesn't exist yet, but might actually become a thing. And then if we remember what we've got going in Core 2021, we've got, what is that spirit called? The tap two. We've got tap 2 spirits to tap down 1 creature of theirs, 2 mana, 2/2 flying spirit. That thing seems pretty damn strong. So I think we're basically Mirror Regery. Well, hey, this actually compounds pretty big. So PowerPoint is boring. Says, this is like the light version of Mirror Regery. This, I think, is better than Mirror Regery. I mean, if I could have this for Merfolk, I would snap take it. First off, it's got flash. So you can just flash it into play while holding up your counter spells. That's like the crappiest thing about Mirror Regery. You basically have to reveal you have a Mirror Regery immediately, and then you pass so it's sorcery speed. You pass the turn to your opponent, and they're gonna kill it like 100% of the time. Nebelgast Herald, you don't know. They don't know if you have Nebelgast Herald in your hand until it's too late, and it does a way better job of slowing the opponent down. Regery helps you untap your lands to unload your hand, but does not interact very well with your opponent's creatures unless you have Flash Merfolk, whereas Nebelgast Herald, like all your Flash spirits are going to tap things down, slow the opponent down, huge tempo boost here, and built-in evasion, has flying, so I think this card is incredibly strong, which is why we have a Spirits deck in Pioneer that runs Nebelgast Herald, like 4 copies, right? Like the card is really strong. It's borderline busted. So that is going to be in Jumpstart, and therefore is going to be in Historic. I believe that's in Jumpstart if I read everything correctly. Good morning, Dexter Johnson. I've got Nikachu and WWDC to stream today. Excited. Awesome. We got your day is filled. You've got quite the schedule on your hands. Good morning, Lord Magicus. Good morning, Betamax. Spirits went from barely having cards to having a lot of cards. That's right. And it's funny. Merfolk had like, I would say all the cards from the beginning, but just missing that one lord, that one piece. And Spirits, on the other hand, had the lords, but none of the other pieces to like really make, the deck a deck. And they're really all they're missing right now is like Spell Queller. That's it. They have everything else. I mean, yeah, they basically have everything else. The deck looks like it's going to be something. If someone wants to make the Spirits deck a deck, like I took the initiative with Merfolk, then it can and will happen. The craziest turn with Rejiri is by untapping our lands and it's a lord. Yes, that is I mean, it can be good. Hey, let me play 3 to 4 creatures on one turn. I'll take it. I'm not going to turn that down, but the problem is my opponents don't let me take it very often. They're like, oh my god, it's a Rejiri. This is going to be like Affinity, where they just dump their hand. Okay, which pew, 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 pew. Get that thing off the board. Good evening, blue players. Good evening, Chow Zamba. The new Flying Mana Leak counterspell is going to be sick in their deck. The new Flying Mana Leak counterspell, what is that? I don't know if I'm familiar with this card, or I forgot about it. Let me know in the comment section what this is all about. I'm very curious. Hello, good morning, K-Mac. I just started and immediately something from my spirits. Yes, that's right. If you're a spirits lover, it's a good time to jump into Magic right now because Historic is going to is immediately showing love for the spirits. So there's love for spirits immediately. With Rattle Chains is a huge deal. Screw over those stomps. Let's get back Rattle Chains. Where's Rattle Chains? Like one of the most annoying cards right now is Stomp out of the red-green aggro deck, and that stupid fighting spell. Screw you! All those stupid fighting spells and your removal spells. Rattle Chains is there to save the day, and doesn't undermine Teferi exactly very well. However, you could, before Teferi resolves, like Teferi Time Raveler, flash in your Rattle Chains, protect the one creature you really want to have in play, and then Teferi Time Raveler cannot bounce it anymore. So, but what is that? Can anyone remember what the core 20? Well, I'm just gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up. What am I talking about here? Shacklegeist. Shacklegeist. Shackle you down. So this is like this is also another new spirit, which for modern beats Plague Engineer. It has a good Plague Engineer check. So it's a 2/2 creature, so one Plague Engineer doesn't wipe this thing off the battlefield, which is traditionally a huge problem with the spirits. I mean, almost all the spirits have 1 toughness, which is a problem. And like, cards like basically you need a lord on the battlefield, basically, and nothing else is going to save you. Shacklegeist can survive a Plague Engineer, but also this is going to be another tool to help tap down creatures, slow the game down against any particular opponents. And it's not like you just tap any 2 spirits. They can have Summoning Sickness. So anyway, spirits are getting a lot of love in the near future, as they have actually in the last few years, period. When they print a spirit, it's a bomb. Like right now, they're just printing the heavy-hitting spirits. Selfless Spirit, Spell Queller, Rattle Chains, Shacklegeist. I mean, they went all out, gave good stuff. Supreme Phantom is could be better, but is good enough. Really good toughness. Really good toughness. Mr. Blue, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Blue. Good morning, Jorgi Yarza. Oh yeah, I'm doing great. Every day is great. Every day is busy for me, but every day is great. The games where you untap with Rejiri versus when you don't is huge. That's right. So Rejiri, Mirror Rejiri, we might as well get it on the board here. This is what we're comparing everything to. This card says that whenever you cast a Merfolk spell, you may tap or untap target permanent. So it's got one of the greatest benefits of this card in the late game is that you can tap down the opponent's largest creature, so you can attack in for the win. But in the early game, you can play Lord, untap land, play another Lord, untap land, play another Lord, untap land, get 3 creatures in play for the amount of mana that you have. Really strong. And then the last thing that you can play can then tap down one of your opponent's blockers. But it's really high variance. Either you paid 3 mana for something that just got killed on your opponent's turn, or you untap with it and you have a huge turn. So it's night and day, just like what the Cody Hope just said. The games where you untap versus the ones that you don't are completely different games. Because the thing is, if you play this thing on turn 3, which is clunky, you can end up falling super far behind against your opponent. Your opponent could be like, okay, end of turn, bolt this thing, or even on their turn, bolt this thing. And then they play a big threat that's really strong. So, there's a big cost to tapping out for 3 mana in Modern. And I would say just in Modern. It's not as big of a liability in Historic. In Historic, you can suck it up a little bit. Good morning, Kiosk. I'd just like to say good morning to everyone who's joining us today. This is already an excellent start as we start talking about spirits. Going to make a big comeback, maybe making a big comeback in Historic, maybe making a big comeback in both Pioneer and Modern. We have to wait and see. The new Shacklegeist is a very interesting include. And with that, I'm going to take a delicious sip of my coffee for Coffee and MTG. I hope you've brewed something delicious for this morning. My irresistible, delicious taste of brand coffee that we don't talk about on this channel anymore. We just don't talk about it anymore. It's okay. I'm over it. I'm over it. Casual G. I love playing against opponents who don't know that they need to kill Rijiri ASAP. I mean, everyone's got to learn, Everyone's got to learn the first time. Even myself included, I'm like, that doesn't seem that important. I'll just let it go. I'll just kill the bigger thing. And then I realize, oh, is that what it does? Well, I'm dead. And, lesson learned, right? I think we have all been there, where we just let the card go because we don't know the danger. And then it's only until, our opponent demonstrates the danger that we've now internalized what it actually does. I could do the same thing with Goblin Electromancer the very first time that I saw that card. Oh, Goblin Electromancer just makes things cheaper, but it's only a 2/2 creature. I'm going to kill the bigger creature. And then all of a sudden your opponent comboed off and killed you. Lesson learned. Got it. Hey, every loss is an opportunity to learn something new. So, I mean, that's just how it is with any game. Good morning, Kyoka. Good morning, Thomas. Lofty Denial. So what is the new... What? Is this something to be concerned about? For a blue and 1 colorless, counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. But if you control a creature with flying, counter that spell unless its controller pays 4. Okay, so outside of I don't know if this really has a place in Pioneer, but maybe in Historic it does. You need to have a creature on the battlefield. This reminds me so much about Unified Will. So the deal with this is your opponent can just kill if they have, say, 3 mana up, and they can spend up to 2 mana on a removal spell to kill your only flyer in play, and then the tax is only 1. They'll probably do it. Same thing will apply if they've got 2 mana up and 1 mana up for Fatal Push. They kill it in response to Lofty Denial, and then they only have to pay 1. So it reminds me a lot about Unified Will, where you needed to have more creatures than your opponent in order to counter the spell. This could be good, but I have to wait and see how it's actually going to play out. But obviously, one thing I didn't consider is that this card is built for spirits. Definitely, this is the spirits card. I was thinking maybe the mono blue tempo deck would be utilizing this, but why would they do that? They've got a much better they have a much better card, and they're way faster and way more aggro. They have that one where if you control a pirate, it costs more, or something to that effect. So, but Lofty Denial probably is the card for what's it called, for spirits. So where's Merfolk's counterspell? Wizards, what are you doing? What are you doing, Wizards? You got Merfolk's counterspell in there? Is it in there somewhere? Where is it? Where is our counterspell? Damn it. Where's our good Merfolk cards? We just got a ton of like I'm in jealousy mode, people. I'm in jealousy mode. Like all the good stuff is coming out for all the other tribes. And where is our bomb? Where's our I want the one mana merfolk, people. I want the one mana merfolk. Good morning, El Mayo. Betamax asks, Nikachu, what do you think is the stronger Petty Theft, Brazen Bar, or Stomp Bone Crusher Giant, or are they pretty equal? I think they're pretty equal. Maybe I could give a little bit more edge to the Stomp Bone Crusher Giant, only because I think there are more decks that can utilize that card, maybe, at least in the short run right now. Maybe in the super long run, Brazen Borrower is going to win out, but they're close. They're close. I think there are just more red decks that can utilize this sort of card, because like I think Brazen Borrower is very good in Merfolk, and it's fine in control decks and other tempo decks, but they don't need the card that much. They can live without it. They have more counter spells to deal with just generic threats, whereas with Merfolk, we got counter spells, but not that many, and we are super dependent on like interacting with the board. So I think there's just more decks that can utilize Bone Crusher Giant, whether it's like red green Ponza, whether it's Burn, whether it's mono red Prowess, whether it's this, or Jund could play this card too. So I think there are more decks that can fit Stomp / Bone Crusher Giant than they would with Brazen Borrower. El Mayo, what do you think Elves needs to be competitive in Modern again? More 2 toughness creatures that can either it needs to go in a new direction where it's not combo related, it's more tempo, aggro related, or it goes combo heavy, but it needs to have more 2 toughness creatures. For the most, it badly needs to beat Plague Engineer, or it needs to have. They need to adjust their game plan to be maybe more aggro, less combo heavy, but they still have the combo up their sleeve if they ever want to use it like that. So it needs to go in a little bit of a different direction, because I know if they want to go super combo heavy, as Elves usually likes to do, like if we even look at Heritage Druid, most of the combo pieces look like this. They're just like these really fragile creatures that cost like, you know, they have 1 toughness. Like almost their entire fleet has 1 toughness for the most part. There are new ones, like even, what is it called? Clan Caller has 1 toughness. So like even this Lord has 1 toughness, which is a problem. And they need to have more creatures that have more than 1 toughness to beat a Plague Engineer in Modern, because if they can't, then they'll always get dismantled by it. Just like with Goblins, that's the situation with Goblins right now. Goblins, great deck, gets massacred by Plague Engineer. Just cannot beat that card at all. So they either need more 2 toughness creatures that still enable their game plan, or they have to go in a bit of a different direction, get a little bit more aggro. Oh, I don't remember what the card was. There's like a 3/3 elf with Death Touch. They need to take maybe a slightly different mid-rangey route that still has the combo up their sleeve, but they're not focusing on the combo. That's what I'm saying. What else? They could also use like Glimpse of Nature, something to that effect, some sort of glimpse-like effect, so that they can like at least draw through a bunch of removal or draw to answers to a Plague Engineer. And mind you, you can go black-green with Elves. That's no problem. That's no problem at all. And if you do that, you now have more answers to a Plague Engineer because you're utilizing black. You can then play, you know, Fatal Push, Dismember. Well, probably not Fatal Push, but you know, some sort of removal spell that will help you. But also, you know, just beating a pile of removal, some sort of Glimpse of Nature effect would be good. Here. Although I don't know how happy I would be to see this card. I mean, this is what makes this deck like almost unbeatable in Legacy. Glimpse of Nature, if it resolves, I mean, you're just drawing a gigantic pile of cards. That could also help. But I would say like the biggest issue is that all the creatures are 1 toughness, and now the strategy is super fragile, super fragile to a Plague Engineer. Wait, it's the absolute truth. Wait, Spirits in Historic. Yes, Spirits in Historic, because they're about to get Rattle Chains from Jumpstart, and they're also about to get Nebelgast Herald. So, and then if you include Shacklegeist, which is also coming out in 2021, Core 2021, Spirits very likely is going to get a bunch of new tools in order to, make it a deck. Courtesy asks, are there enough Spirits in Historic to warrant a strict creature aggro plan, or do we need to fill our deck with removal, surveil, control in the low CMC slots, etc.? I would have to see what the deck looks like. The deck, Spirits is never like strictly an aggro deck. They are most definitely a tempo style deck. But I imagine you probably should use some like removal. You should use some counter spells. That I don't think that would be a bad idea at all, especially since you don't have Spell Queller and you got blue. What are you going to do with blue? You're going to play counter spells. Go for it. So I think you're probably going to have to fill in some of those slots with those cards. Force Leak. Lofty Denial will replace Disdainful Stroke in my Pioneer Spirits sideboard. That's an interesting perspective. So you can hit more things than Disdainful Stroke did. Disdainful Stroke is just a card that counters the expensive stuff. Converted mana cost 4 or higher. Lofty Denial is sort of like Wizard's Retort in that it basically counters spells when you have the creature. The difference is that you can still cast it in the 2-mana mode always. Gotcha. Brazen Borrower is sick, though. I've had many moons and chokes bounced way too often. But of course, the Stomp can also be played through a Blood Moon, and etc. as well. Asian Supermarket. I love your name because I occasionally go to an Asian supermarket. Nikachu, I love your Commander stream the other day. I hope you keep the Commander games coming. Well, if there's enough love for Commander, then maybe we'll do it. I don't think I can do it too often because there's support, but I don't know if there's that much support or hunger for the Commander games. I would also prefer that the 1v1 Commander stuff online wasn't Ponyland, and I would love to see some leagues by Wizards of the Coast. I don't know if that'd be good for the format, because if you start bringing super hyper competitive players like me in there, maybe we'll rip it apart and it won't be the Ponyland that it used to be. But I like Singleton. I think it's cool. I love everything about Commander except that it's a pony format, and I'd love to see it to be a more competitive format. In some aspects, we can leave the 4-player thing alone, whatever. That doesn't need to be competitive. Give me some 1v1 Commander competitive action. Give it to me. Give it to me, Wizards of the Coast. Good morning, Gills to pay the bills. Good morning, Mikey J. Good morning, everyone. Sorry you're late. It's all good. It's all good. And for anyone joining us right now, welcome. This is Coffee and MTG with me, Nikachu. You got questions? I got answers. Let's have some discussion about Magic the Gathering. Also, I'm taking deck lists. If you got deck lists for any deck, ideally, I'd like to talk about tempo decks, but hey, I'm willing to look at anything. I see all the deck lists for, Modern, etc. So I have some idea where, the gaps are in particular lists and what you need to address today's metagames. Delicious coffee in the morning. Hope you're drinking some coffee, tea, something. Do you think we could use a better Silvergill Adept, perhaps a tougher body, and not having to reveal? I mean, if they give it to me, sure, I'll take more Silvergill Adepts. I have no problem. But overall, I sort of asked myself this question, how many Silvergill Adepts can I play in the deck? Let's say I had a second play set. Would I play 4 more? Probably not. I mean, if you improve the first Silvergill Adept, sure, I'll just replace it if it's strictly better. But probably the deck doesn't want more than 7. I don't because I played with Branchwalker, which is like a pseudo Silvergill Adept, and it didn't feel like I need more than 8. 8 seemed like too much. So we probably could use a few more Silvergill Adept effects, but probably not a whole lot more. Especially since, like I've said many times, we need to address a power issue. We need more power in the deck and more power early on in the game so that we pressure our opponents to a point where they need to really respect our board state and either slow down their own game plan or just giving us a better chance of racing other game plans. So we need a good 1-drop. But to answer your question, I don't know if we need another Silvergill Adept, but if they make another one, sure, I'll take it. Take any improved Silvergill Adept any day, especially if it had more than 1 toughness, which gets wiped out by Plague Engineer. Imagine having your board wiped by electricity. This post made by 2 Toughness Gang. That's right. Beast Whisper as Glimpse of Nature exists, but it's way too slow. Yes, that's right. It's not the same. It's not the same. But Beast Whisperer, I'll give some respect to Beast Whisperer. It's slow, but you know what? It's slow, but it does meet that requirement of like beating a Plague Engineer. It's a 2/3 creature, and I would say it's not hard for Elves to get this thing on the battlefield. I think it would be better if it had 4 toughness, because then it could get out of range of Lightning Bolt. That's partially why things like Dryad of the Elysian Grove are so good in Modern right now, or like just since it came out of the Dryad. Like if this thing had 3 toughness, I don't know. I don't even know if it would see play, honestly. But because it has 4 toughness, this card is a very big deal. And like dodges like Lightning Bolt, one of the most popular removal spells, and yeah, and then does all these things. All these things. You can play additional lands, and all lands basically help enable Scapeshift from Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle. So Beast Whisperer at least beats Plague Engineer, but I understand. I agree it's slow. What do you think of the 1 RR Goblin Lord gives haste to goblins in Jumpstart? I didn't see it. I think I know what you're talking about, though. Might have to look for this off screen. What is the goblin? Is it Goblin Chieftain? Is that what they just revealed? Let me know in the comments. Is this what they revealed? I don't know. Or I think there's 2 goblins. One that gives haste, but also one that reduces mana cost and gives haste. Yes, it's the Goblin Chieftain. If they revealed this, it's going to make me puke, because actually Goblins is like really close to being like going over the top in Historic. Like they already have a lot of good pieces together. We actually got a deck list submitted on this show, like I think last week, about Goblins, and now this card is just going to put it way over the top. So it's like, oh, Goblin War Chief? Is it Goblin War Chief? Because that's different. Is already Historic legal? Oh, this is already Historic legal. So, okay, what's in Jumpstart? Is this in Jumpstart? Okay, I gotta investigate this myself. Goblin. Yeah, Goblin Chieftain is coming. So this card is way better than the other Goblin card. So because this is a Lord that gives all your creatures +1/+1 and has haste by itself. I mean, that's pretty damn good. We were just talking about how Mirror Regery, you have to wait a whole turn for you to get value out of it. Goblin Chieftain gets value immediately. So you just play this thing with haste and then go to town. So you at least, like, even if you don't get to untap with Goblin Chieftain, you at least got some value out of this card, which you don't get with Mirror Regery. So this card is going to be a huge boost to goblins in Historic. That is not something I'm looking forward to. Historic is going to turn into more and more of a tribal format. We got like merfolk, we got goblins, we've got spirits. What else do we got? I mean, this is going to give goblins a huge boost. And maybe it was just the boost that they were looking for. It's the same thing as merfolk, where we just need one more lord. Or even, I don't even know if they have a lord, period. But this is the lord that's going to help turn all those dinky 1/1 creatures into something. They all become 2/2s. Way harder to block. They're already on the board early. And now this card is going to put it over the top. So excellent. Thanks for asking. I think that, yeah, so what do I think? I think it's gonna make goblins a pretty serious deck in historic on Magic the Gathering Online. Mr. Blue, I'm in Diamond Tier 2, and Historic is pretty much ramp control decks that just crush you with ramp payoffs, Planeswalkers, and Field of the Dead. Yeah, that's Historic. That's Historic for you for the most part. Yeah, you got the ramp decks. So there is not much mid-range right now. There just isn't. So it's either these aggro decks, or there are control/combo decks, and that is the metagame. And that's basically has been the metagame for about like 5 or 6 months. But that's just how it is, and I think it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of different aggro decks, you know. At least this is how it was before. You know, you had the life gain, Heliod, you know, Pride Mage aggro deck, you had red green ramp aggro deck, you had mono red aggro deck, and then you had your versions of control like blue white control, Esper control. You see now Yorion control. You see there was Jeskai control until they banned Fires of Invention. There was the Field of the Dead combo control. So I mean, that's the nature of Historic at the moment, and mid-range is still finding its footing. But until then, that's just how it is. So you need to have a good proactive game plan to race and interact with the control decks, while also being able to either race or defend against the aggro decks. And that's just how it is. I love it. I love it. I have nothing against it. Nikachu, what are the changes you would make in your EDH deck for 2+ player games? Take out so I have a list. It is different. Take out the 1-drops, most of them. They're not so necessary. Maybe the only one you need is Mistcaller, just in case your opponents are playing some sort of stupid graveyard shenanigan stuff. And go up higher in the curve, play with more. You have more room to play clunkier cards, and definitely have cards that draw cards. I would say throw some sort of Stroke of Genius card in there. Definitely play with Gadwick. I've already been looking to how I can improve my 1-versus-1 deck. But you need to have more cards that help refill your hand on an empty board state, which still can happen. So Gadwick the Wizened, I think, is a really good include there. Also for 1-versus-1. And so, yeah, just play maybe a few more cards that help fill your hand up. Definitely have like that banner card. It's a 5-mana artifact. Whenever you cast it, you have to declare a creature when it enters the battlefield. Whenever you cast a creature of that type, you draw a card. Definitely have stuff like that. So you can basically wipe out some of the lower part of the curve, add more clunkier stuff because you have more room to do that. And, you know, card advantage is a little bit more of a king in 4-player than it is in 2-player. 2-player is more about tempo, and that's why I went down so far on the curve. And you don't need all those fast artifacts as well. You don't need them, like things like Mox Diamond and stuff like that. So that's what I would say. I'm glad you had some. I'm glad people like the Commander content. I have like no idea how much people like it. Definitely not going to make it super regular, but it's going to be out there as long as I have to play the pony format with my friends. There's a Mitsuwa marketplace actually not far from me. Oh yeah, the Asian supermarkets. They're the best. Matt Maddock, I've designed a Merfolk 1-drop. Would love to hear your thoughts about it. Well, send it. You don't need to ask me. I mean, you send it here. Where are you, Matt Maddock? You send it here. Okay, we got it here. So my Merfolk 1-drop design, Silvergill Anarchist. Sorry, Arcanist. Bit of a different definition there. Arcanist for a blue 1/1 Merfolk Wizard. When Silvergill Arcanist enters the battlefield, you may reveal up to 2 cards from your hand. For each Merfolk card revealed this way, choose one. Put a +1/+1 counter on Silvergill, add blue, or put a +1/+1 counter, or add a blue. So for 1 blue, we have our 1/1, or we can ramp a little bit with this card. Is what I'm reading. I think it's a good card. I mean, obviously it's very strong. It can replace itself in terms of mana, and it's an automatic 1/1. And very likely we're gonna have like a bunch of Merfolk in our hand very early in the game. Hopefully we do. But I like it. I think it's a very strong card. The only thing I don't like about this card, there actually is something. There's one issue with this card. We don't get the value Oh no, when it enters the battlefield. It's not when you cast it. Okay, so this is fine. Everything's fine. So we can Violet in play and still get value from this thing. It's not upon casting it. All right, love it. Print it, Wizards of the Coast. Are you taking notes, Wizards of the Coast? Are you listening? Someone from Wizards of the Coast is definitely watching this, and they're just not allowed to say anything because they can't say that they're watching Nikachu publicly. Just take the notes, send it to the right person in R&D. Take credit yourself for the idea. I don't care, so long as it gets printed one way or another. Let's see. Daz90. Hey, Nikachu, what do you think about the Blood Moon decks with Obosh and Modern? I think Blood Moon is still pretty weak right now in Modern. Arkham's Astrolabe is basically like the deck to beat, either in like the forms of Bant or Sultai or Simic or anything. So the problem is like, what is your Blood Moon like beating right now? Not to mention, you still have problems against Burn and Prowess. So I'm not like... I don't even know about any Obosh Blood Moon decks right now in Modern. So that says something about this deck as well. I would have to see a list to make a better judgment about it. But whatever. I mean, if it's strong, then it's going to show up, and then it's going to start crushing everything, and it's going to get my attention. But right now, I don't even know that it exists. And if it's built around Blood Moon, I can sort of see why, because Blood Moon's not where it used to be. But, you know, if they ban Arkham's Astrolabe, that everything can change. Everything can absolutely change. Good morning, Willie Hall. Willie Hall from the Will Hall EXP. Good morning. Nice to see you out there. Goblin has a 4-mana Lord. Pretty bad. Yeah, when you're playing your Lords... Well, I mean, it's not the worst thing. It's not like you need Lords to have... You need to have Lords by turn 2. But ideally, you don't want to have too much mana in your, like, aggro Goblin deck. Don't forget Knights. Okay, we're not going to forget Knights aggro, which could be a thing. Let's not forget about the Knights. What, are we talking like basically mono white here? Mr. Yan says our 2-drop slot is packed, but what if we had a blue-blue 2/1 flash Merfolk with return target spell to its owner's hand? I know you want Merfolk of the Parish, but what else could fit? For 2 mana, that would be fine. I think that would be fine. Like, that's free tempo. I think it would be fine. Again, it doesn't pass the Plague Engineer test, which is like when Plague Engineer for us is like how Blood Moon is for a lot of other decks. Like, when this thing resolves, we need to have a very good plan for it, because this is just devastating to our entire strategy. So the more 1 toughness creatures that we play, like, the worse Plague Engineer gets. And, like, you know, it's not like Blood Moon where it enters the battlefield and all our lands are protected and all we have to do is bounce or destroy the Blood Moon and all our lands come back to life. If your opponent plays Plague Engineer, it wipes your board, and then you kill the Plague Engineer, you don't get the creatures back. You just don't get them. But in a vacuum, I think this card, I mean, the card's very strong for double blue. It's a huge tempo swing. You return any and you return target spell. So, you know, we're getting around the uncounterable things with Cavern of Souls. We're getting around Supreme Verdict, and we can make this uncounterable with Cavern of Souls. So it definitely could go in the deck, 100%. Nikachu, I have to admit that there was something satisfying about watching you to have to read what EDH staple cards do when you're so knowledgeable about other MTG formats that I'm not familiar with. Yes, and I also had all my loyal patrons on Patreon help me build this deck, and like I interrogated them super hard. Okay, what about this card? What about this situation? Do we still need this card? What about this? What about this scenario? Because like. But I can sort of understand, you know, in a 4-player game what they were trying to do. And then when I tried to play that same deck in a 2-player game, oh, it just did not work at all. And I had to just cut out. So there was people ask me, what about Empress Galena? Empress Galena costs too much mana. Damn it. I'm going to be dead before that thing comes into play. So Empress Galena, So a lot of people ask me, Nikachu, why don't you play Empress Galena in your EDH deck? Because I'm playing 1-on-1, and I will be dead by the time this thing comes into play, and it doesn't even matter. I'm going to gain control of their permanent, and they're just going to play that homebound land and just get their creatures back. This card's trash in 1 versus 1. Now, in a 4-player game, this card might have a lot more value, especially since those games are a lot longer, and you can get to 5 mana easily, and everyone has some sort of board wipe to deal with the board, and you can restart all over again with this thing. But in 1 versus 1, absolutely not going to happen. And yeah, I have no idea what any of these cards do. For the most part, like, in Commander, I mean, it's like playing. Yeah, it's a completely new format. I have to read it's like a new set just came out, and it's like almost all cards in Magic the Gathering. I have no idea what's going on in that format. Uh-oh. I lost my spot with all of you. Betamax asks, a while back you spoke about toying around with the old school Merfolk. As it happens, there is an effective 93-94 Merfolk deck. Just Google it and find if you can find the primer. But here's my build, www.mtggoldfish.com. So where are you? Let's see if I can find your... I think you can post the whole link. Like, it won't, there's nothing wrong with it. So what do I have to do? Get rid of this? Get rid of the hashtag? How do I find this thing? Okay, maybe it's this thing by Dan W. Okay, let's go check out your list. Oops. Hey, where am I? Oh, okay, hold on. Boom. All right. We're here. 93-94 Merfolk, people. Merfolk of the Pearl Trident. So I've looked a little bit into 93-94. I've made some decks just like thinking, okay, what do we have even available to make a Merfolk deck? So we do have Merfolk of the Pearl Trident. We have Lord of Atlantis. We have River Merfolk, which, by the way, I actually think should go into Commander, even in 1 versus 1. Because you need the double blue devotion really badly for Thassa. You need double blue so bad. And I looked up every double blue creature card in existence, and turns out they're just not that many. Merfolk is already playing like all the double blue spells between like Lord of Atlantis, River Merfolk. I'm surprised you don't have Merfolk Assassin in here, but River Merfolk is one of the very, very few Merfolk that it costs double blue and is like, yeah, just costs double blue, or just like one of the few creatures in Magic the Gathering that costs double blue. So River Merfolk, can I get closer here? Here, so River Merfolk, if you don't know, you can pay a blue, it gets Mountain Walk, not an irrelevant ability, even I think in 93-94. So we got Sea Singer, which is bury it if you have no islands. Gain control of target creature. If its controller controls at least 1 island, you lose control of that creature. If this thing leaves play, or if you lose control of Sea Singer, or if Sea Singer becomes untapped, and you can choose not to untap it. So you can give them a land with phantasmal terrain. Then you've got, like, of course, the Afreet, this is like Tempest Djinn in mono blue tempo. It's just a big creature basically for low casting cost. Vidalian Mage, counter target spell if its caster of a target spell does not pay an additional 1, play this ability as an interrupt, and Clone. So my version of Merfolk actually maxed out on Clone because I want to max out on how many Lord of Atlantis I can play. So curious to know what the reason for this is. And you have a lot of good interaction. You got the Boomerang, you have Counterspell, you have Psionic Blast. If Control Magic exists, I would play a lot more of these, I think. I don't know, maybe the card is trash against the control decks. And of course, you have like a Strip Mine, Mishra's Factory, and 11 Islands. So, I no one's ever seen my list, but I definitely was heavier on the clones. And I think I was heavier on counter spells. There was the Power Sink counter spell that I didn't mind playing. but I can't remember what else I had. Maybe Merfolk Assassin just as a random Merfolk. I don't remember, though. Thanks for sharing the list, though. Thanks for sharing the list. We'd never really get deep into 93, 94 because there's barely a community for this. Barely. But it's nice to just think about, you know, as an eternal format, the decks will never change. Nothing changes. What's the best list that you can play? Maybe Magic was balanced past the year 1994. We just didn't realize it. Yes. I don't know what that was in reference to, but yes. So far, as we've discussed so many things, we're having some great discussions today, and I absolutely need another delicious sip of my coffee in the morning. Don't we all need a cup of coffee? Don't forget, you can ask me questions, submit deck lists for review, or just to show off. You want to show off your awesome deck list? No problem. I'm fine with that as well. Let's get back to the questions. Nikachu, what turns you off about playing standard? I can't play. Okay, there's two reasons, but the number one reason is I can't play a deck that I like to play. I like to play creature tempo decks, and standard doesn't always have one. So now I have played standard before, like when there was Theros Ravnica standard, there was a mono blue devotion deck, tier 1, and I loved playing it. I played that deck for like a year. I played the deck for an entire year, and I went to every standard event because I love that deck and I love the gameplay. And it was during a time of Magic that Magic was the most stale ever. There was basically 3 decks: mono blue devotion, mono black devotion, blue white control, and that was it. And there was a little bit of red green monsters, and I played that deck to death. So when I play Magic, I want to play this style of deck that I like to play. I don't want to play necessarily anything Wizards design, like artificially designed for me. And if there's no good blue tempo deck, then I'm not interested. I'm just not interested. I played last year standard, the mono blue tempo deck, loved it, climbed the ranks of I went all the way to Mythic on MTG Arena, playing mono blue and best of 1. Loved that format. Loved it to death. It was great. It was a lot of fun. But if there's no mono blue tempo deck, I don't care about standard. Now, the other thing I don't like about standard is that you need to keep up very often with this format. You really need to grind often. Whereas when you look at modern or legacy and the rest of them, if I invest like a month of experience right now, in this month, I could take a month off, and that month ago is still useful. That experience is still going to be useful 5 months from now, a year from now, because we're still going to have similar types of decks in the metagame like deep in the future. Burn's been around for like 7 years. Jund has been around for like 7 years. Like, there's so many of these archetypes that are so similar and have not changed very much. That's why they say modern has become a rotating format. What the hell has rotated? Nothing has rotated. If anything, like maybe Jund and blue-white control have had the most changes to their archetype, but that's about it. Everything else is basically the same. Tron is basically the same. Like, nothing's really changed so much. So that's what I like about the formats that are not standard. So welcome, Tarachi. Got to push my head up a little bit here. Do you think a card like this could make modern Merfolk blue and 2 generic legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard, a 1/2 creature? This spell costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. When Emery, Lurker of the Loch, enters the battlefield, put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard. Tap, choose target artifact in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. So you're just describing Emery, Lurker of the Loch. And the answer is basically no. Like, we would need a really good how do I get back to me? For Emery to work in modern Merfolk, we need a very good artifact package for this. And we do have some artifacts, but like some of them exile the graveyard. I mean, we do play Relic of Progenitus. Sorry, we do play Relic of Progenitus, but that thing exiles the graveyard and undermines the value of Emery. Maybe playing Mishra's Bauble would work, but the thing is, by throwing in enough artifacts to enable Emery, you then water down our creature package, because you gotta take from somewhere, right? Maybe you have to take out the ether vials. Maybe you need to make room for all those artifacts in order to get a payoff from Emery. And as it stands, I don't know how you make that deck work. Maybe deep in the future, if we're playing a lot of artifacts that are very, very useful, maybe we could look at Emery. But right now it's like what? Chalice of the Void. Like, I don't want to bring an Ether Vial back from the graveyard. That's not useful. Ether Vial's best on turn 1. So, like, if we look at it, there aren't that many artifacts that we can leverage in Merfolk. Otherwise, we would be playing them. Does not cut it at the moment. If you, Asian Supermarket asks, if I were to ask one favor for when you're streaming a game, regardless of the format, spend more time scrolling over the cards or explaining what they do so the less knowledgeable members of the audience can more easily know what's going on or why you're making the decisions that you're making. I could try that. I mean, yeah, I sometimes forget that there's a lot of newer people entering the game. Although, like, when I first started my YouTube channel, I did something like that. And then I realized, like, do I have to explain every single time something like this? Maybe I could have a day or a session where I say, this is like a beginner day. The best thing I would say, at least for the viewer, is that they have to like catch the name and then look up the card. Or it would be nicer if there was a better way for the viewer to be able to, like, on Twitch, just touch the card and then be able to see what it does. I will try to do a little bit better, especially if it's an unusual card. Because if it's a super common card, it will get really repetitive when I keep explaining the same thing over and over again. Because that's what, like, I remember doing stuff like this when I first started my channel. This is Snapcaster Mage. When it enters the battlefield, you get to flashback a card. Now, in order to beat Snapcaster Mage, we can, in response, exile the graveyard with Relic of Progenitus. But then, if you do this every single video, then it gets like really repetitive really quickly, and also time consuming, not to mention that. I used to time out in my videos a long time ago. Also, I was dying when your opponent played Elish Norn right after you talked so much smack. Yeah, I mean, I got punished. That was karma right there. So if anyone didn't see this Commander game, I'm like, this is in the bag. It's all over. Oh, I'm the greatest person in the world. Thas is about to destroy you, and then my opponent goes slam Elish Norn, wipes my board of, like, my opponent had nothing, I had everything. I had like 7 or 8 creatures on the battlefield. They slam Elish Norn. Now all of a sudden I have nothing except this one, I think it was like Seafloor Oracle that happened to have 3 toughness, and now it's a 0/1 creature. So anyway, I got punished hard. Happens. You live by the smack talk, you die by the smack talk. Jorgi Yarza, I think Mardu Knights is a list that anyone is working into, and we have a really good mana base for Unclaimed Territory, Ancient Ziggurat, and Tournament Grounds, and also the best 1-drops in Historic, Fervent Champion, Knight of the Ebon Legion, Dauntless Bodyguard, and Venerable Knight. So it's possible. So, I mean, hey, build your list, try to get some results, build some influence, and convince the Knights community, or at least convince the Historic community. Because you know what? It all starts with that. I mean, it all starts with you just showing how it's done, and then other people can take the idea and like take the idea, maybe make their own adaptations and then get results. Huge shout out to the Cody Hope, who recently made a really good place in the Historic Challenge with Historic Merfolk, but like there was no real Historic Merfolk before I built the deck, and then he made his own adaptation from my list and then it just crushed them without a sideboard. That was a hilarious thing. It was a best of 3 Historic tournament. He plays without a sideboard, not realizing it was best of 3. Still made a great finish, going X2. Still did great. So that's where it starts. Build the list, get some results, show other people your results, and let them carry it. Why is C-Octopus not exciting to you anymore? Well, not in Modern Merfolk. I don't know if I need this here, but I am excited to play it in Pioneer. I think this card is like still strong in Pioneer. We saw what it did with the blue-black flash deck, and maybe that blue-black flash deck can get a lot better because I was playing with mostly standard cards. And I think Sea Dasher Octopus can go in Pioneer Spirits. It would be a great fit because you've got the evasion already. And I think the card is just like a really good grinding card. I just don't it's a grinding card, so I don't like it in Historic because that format is just all about speed and interaction. Like I said, there's no mid-range deck. There's like no grindy deck in Historic for the most part, or at least it's not a huge chunk. It's not a dominant strategy as it is in Modern. Modern is way more attrition based, but I still don't think like Sea Dash Octopus is strong enough in Modern Merfolk or Modern period. But I like it a lot in Pioneer. I think this is a Pioneer. It's close to a Pioneer staple. Maybe I need to experiment more for Modern, but I am just the way my games play out in Modern right now. I don't think Sea Dash Octopus is solving the problems that I have. Good morning, Monster CC. Don't forget that crappy red-white burn deck. Let's not forget the crappy red-white burn deck. Matt Maddox says, would you take donations to try a card in Merfolk and Modern, or would you rather focus on playing what you think is the most competitive list? Yes, I could take donations. I would have no problem with that. I don't know what I would price the donation at. I know I priced the deck at $50. Like if you wanted me to play some complete deck, it's $50. Maybe that's a good point. Maybe I should sell. Maybe I should be able. I don't know. Give me some idea what a card should be worth if I were to test up to 4 copies of a particular card. I could be open to it. I definitely need to have like certain days where I'm just play testing my competitive list. But hey, for money, I will do anything. It all comes down to money. Nikachu wants the money, damn it. The money. So this is a great business idea. I like it. I'm gonna have to think about what I have to price changing cards out of my deck for. Kalingi, Nikachu, what do you think about Mono Blue Devotion and Pioneer right now? I think it would be a worse Spirits deck. That's what I think it would be. I think Spirits does a lot of things similar to what Mono Blue Devotion does, but just better because they're not so all in on. They're a lot less all in on like this instant speed strategy. Not to mention, Teferi Time Reveler is still a pretty big portion of Pioneer. Maybe it's not that big of a portion, but it's around. But whatever. If you want to know, is Mono Blue Devotion playable? Yes, it's playable, definitely. But if I were to choose between Mono Blue Devotion and Spirits, I would probably go with Spirits. But Blue Devote. Oh, sorry. You know what? Okay, you said Mono Blue Devotion. I actually thought about you said Mono Blue Tempo. No, this is a completely different question. So, like, I dumped Mono Blue Devotion, but we see Lord Magicus getting 5-0 still with the deck, and so I actually think there's still something to it. It's still got the tools, and of course, it's a blue deck that utilizes counter spells and doesn't get shut off by Damping Sphere, which helps meet the demands of problematic decks like the Lotus Field. Yes, I think Mono Blue Devotion right now still playable. Might even be better because we don't see as many of those stupid red deck wins decks. It's like a little bit more focused on burn. But it's yeah. Anyway, I think Devotion is still playable. Merfolk Artifacts someday. Maybe. Could happen. I'm not really the person to answer that question. You got to ask R&D. Stream Decker does that for Arena, but not for Magic the Gathering Online. Yes. So like the question was asked, what do cards do? How can you go over the cards? Stream Decker can show us the cards on MTG Arena, but not on Magic the Gathering Online. That's too bad. Shock Onion, don't worry if you're here late. I appreciate it. I appreciate showing up. Welcome to the chat. Is there the Deck Hub Twitch plugin that can give viewers a list of your deck? Yes, there's like I use Stream Decker for my Magic the Gathering. You just go like ! deck, and that should be good. Might make it easier for newer players. So at the very least, so if Stream Decker shows, I use Stream Decker to show my most recent list. And Stream Decker also shows the cards on Magic the Gathering Online, so it should be no problem. But it does not show my opponent's cards. It doesn't show my opponent's cards. Good morning, TFXD. Good morning. Oh, all the love being shown to Cody Hope, who just recently went X2 in the historic challenge. Great finish with no sideboard in a best of 3 event, which is hilarious. So I hope some pros notice that, show that how good the Merfolk deck is, even without a sideboard. Who needs a sideboard? Who needs it? Who needs it? Can you, Nikachu MTG, can you use an overlay thing on Magic the Gathering Arena so the viewer can move the mouse over the cards to read them? Day9 and Nox use OG sometimes. So, Monster CC says that Stream Decker does that. So does it Stream Decker do that or no? So Mac Vizzle says, should look into Deck Hub for Magic the Gathering Online and Deck Master or Stream Decker for Arena. So I think I already have that for Arena. We're good on Arena because I do use the Stream Decker thing, but I do not use Deck Hub for Magic the Gathering Online. I'm gonna I won't look into it immediately, but if anyone reminds me, I will look into it because I know after this is done, I'm just going to completely forget. All right, let's grind through a few more questions. I just want to thank you for making me a better Merfolk player just from watching you play. You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. The Merfolk Master, sharing the knowledge, sharing the love, so everyone can win with Merfolk. I was testing Octopus in Blue Temple last night. It's okay, but I'll try it in Blue Devotion tomorrow. So we got more people on the experiment train. Asian Supermarket, your explanation about not wanting to repeat yourself makes sense, but during the downtime while you're waiting for your opponent to take their turn, I would really appreciate it if you spend more time just scrolling the cursor over each card. No problem. I will try to do that. Or if you're watching, just let me know in the chat. I mean, if there's downtime, I have nothing else to do. I'm going to be reading the chat. If you want me to clarify anything, you have any questions, I'm there to answer it. It also helps my stream because you're putting in the engagement. Because I guess the hardest part for me as a content creator is I don't know what all of you don't know. So if you let me know, because I learned so much from coaching people, coaching students, they really enlighten me what people do not know. Because I'm finding like some pattern amongst the students, like the certain concepts that they grasp and the certain ones that they don't. And I realize, I don't think myself or anyone else really pays attention to teaching a concept about this because I keep seeing people make mistakes about this and so on. And even when it comes to the cards, I don't know what people do not know. For the most part, I am a competitive channel, so a lot of people will already know what the cards are. But I understand there's still going to be people new to Modern, new to Pioneer, new to Historic, just joining. So hey. Just give me a shout. I'll let you know. What are your thoughts in the recent rise of chess on Twitch? I feel like I'm missing out. I feel like, yeah, I know chess is exploding right now on Twitch and YouTube. And I was thinking about like making a chess channel. And I feel like, oh my God, like, do I abandon everything that I'm doing right now to like squeeze in some chess content or what? Because I definitely feel like Magic really, I mean, like Magic is growing, but very, very slowly right now, while chess is just exploding. And basically, I feel like if anyone doesn't know, I'm a chess master playing Magic the Gathering to become Merfolk Master. Yeah, so like, I'm very happy for my chess community out there that they're doing so well. But damn it, maybe I can get like a million viewers and subscribers overnight just by having a random chess channel. It's possible. Oh, you usually watch it on YouTube the next day, not live. So you might be able to like pause and take a well, you have like a lot more room to like stop the video and look up the cards if necessary. But whatever, okay. I will still try to do my best. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, Nikachu, Master of Pawns. Nikachu, more like Master of Prawns, right? Are we right? All right. So anyway, thank you much, everyone, for joining me today. We had some great conversations. This was really good stuff, and we had really good questions and communication and conversation. I enjoy it every single day. I would just like to remind everyone that we do have the Coffee and MTG on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays at 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. And I also do gameplay on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, starting at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. So that means today is Monday. I hope to see you very soon. If you want to support the channel, you can always sub on Twitch. You can also leave a so we're here on Twitch, twitch.tv/NikachuMTG. If you want to watch it live, if you want to be part of the conversation, you got to come over to Twitch and go do that. You can also become a patron on Patreon. But you don't get any emojis if you do that. I've submitted one emoji, and the more emojis are on the way. Definitely like to thank everyone for joining me today. But before I say goodbye, let us go look for someone to raid, which is the general thing you do on Twitch. You raid people. Who are we going to raid today? Let's look for someone. Let's look for somebody. Oh, I'm up there. My 47 views. I love it. Love my glowing background. Combo Goblins in Modern Preliminary by Canister. You know what? We were talking so much about goblins today. Let us send you off to Canister. That's like more than the first time that I've seen Canister play goblins. That's interesting. So let's get ready for the raid. So again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me today. I really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun. And we were talking a lot about how goblins is going to become a big thing in Historic. So, if you're a goblins fanatic, you want to get into the goblin gang, I'm going to send you off to Canister. Take care now. Bye-bye. See you next time.